UE again distinguished ourselves. We were the first union to oppose the Vietnam War. At the 1964 convention, our members, our delegates passed a resolution opposing the Vietnam War. We were for a while, we were the only union to do it. There was a couple of other small unions that opposed the war soon after us. But as the years went by, other unions began to come around to our position. The UAW, AFSCME, other unions began to see that this war was not good for this country or for the working people they represented. So in 1967, there was a big meeting of unions against the war. It was called Labor Leadership Assembly for Peace. And then in 1972, there was an even bigger meeting, and I think this is from the 72 meeting, was the Founding Convention of Labor for Peace. And this is the UE delegation at the founding meeting of Labor for Peace. And for those folks that had gone through the 50s in our union, this was a moment of vindication. We've been telling people for a long time that American foreign policy was not in the interest of American working people. Other unions wouldn't listen to us. Finally, at least some of them, George Meany never got the news, but some people started to realize that we were right and started joining us in opposing that war. 5 minutes out. I got 5 minutes, okay. In 1973, the coup in Chile occurred during our convention. This was something that really shook us up because it was a very pro-labor, democratic socialist president, Salvador Allende, overthrown by generals in his country, backed by the CIA, and basically in orders from Nixon and Kissinger. So UE was very involved in opposing that. In the 1980s, we were involved in a lot of foreign policy issues because under Ronald Reagan, American foreign policy got worse. There were the wars in Central America, the Contras fighting against Nicaragua, overthrowing the Nicaraguan government, the death squads killing even the Archbishop and other progressive activists in El Salvador, and UE was very involved in opposing that. We were also involved in opposing South African apartheid. We passed resolutions at conventions, something that Margot alluded to, and we put that into practice. These are the financial officers of My Local again, 506 at Erie. This is in 1987, withdrawing part of our strike fund from Mellon Bank in downtown Erie, and the check they're holding there is in the amount of $115,522.94. That was our money in Mellon Bank. We took it out because Mellon Bank supported apartheid. So we put our money where our mouth was, so to speak. UE, in 1988, UE passed, let's jump to the next slide because I mentioned this before. I talked about Central America. This is the March in Washington. That's Amy Newell, who was our Secretary-Treasurer at the time. This is 1990, I think. And that's the actor Ed Asner. So this is opposing U.S. policy in Central America, which we did, all through that period. In 88, we passed a resolution. It's mentioned in the resolution that we passed last year, that in 1988 we passed the first resolution on the issue of Israel and Palestine. And our position evolved a bit more after that, but for the first, we called for recognizing the PLO, negotiations between Israel and Palestine leading to a two-state solution. In later years, we included that in our regular anti-war resolution that we passed at every convention, and we also added the call to end U.S. military aid to Israel. In our resolution last year, we took that all a step further into talking about BDS as well. We opposed George Bush's war, George Bush Sr.'s war on Iraq in 1991. We opposed George Bush Jr.'s war on Iraq before it even started. We were all mobilizing against the invasion of Iraq before, during, and after it happened. We continued to attend demonstrations and speak out against the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And we were one of the first unions to do that. We were also very proud to say we were involved in the last decade, around the time of the Iraq War, there was an organization formed called U.S. Labor Against the War, which is, some people in the room might start nodding, I guess people know what that is, which is a very important group that started really comparing to the labor against the Vietnam War. This was brought into act much earlier of opposing the war in Iraq, and we're very glad to be proud of that organization, which continues to do great work. In 2014, we took positions on a number of important foreign policy issues. I'm just going to talk about this one. Our General Executive Board, because we didn't have a convention that year, passed a resolution condemning what Israel was doing in Gaza in the summer of 2014. We were very upset about that. And if any single event led to the decision to adopt the resolution we adopted last year, which we're now being, harassed and facing legal battles over, it was the war in Gaza, the massacre in Gaza, really. And we were also influenced by things like the growth of the Palestine Solidarity Movement, groups such as the work of groups such as Jewish Voice for Peace. We began to feel like, well, our position on this has been good, but it hasn't really kept up with the seriousness of the problem, and so we decided that we would take the step of becoming the first union to take a stand for BDS. So in the time since we did that, and Peter's going to talk about some of this, but I just want to mention that we've been in touch with Palestinian labor unions. We've had, that we didn't know before, we didn't have contact with them before, and they're very happy with our resolution, and we're happy to be in contact with them, and we look forward to doing more with them and with people in this country who are fighting for justice in Palestine. Like I said, we're a union that believes in being part of a lot of struggles for justice here in this country and worldwide, and we're glad to be part of this struggle.